Hey guys, we're outside this evening, sitting in front of our bunny hutches, because what are we doing? We're going to be starting a series on raising meat rabbits.
Or that's the plan anyways.
Yes, that's the plan. We'll see. We've been raising meat rabbits now for almost 8 years. 7 years. 7 years.
A while.
Yes, and we love it. My parents actually raised rabbits when I was younger, so I came from a background that was used to eating rabbit. It's very worthwhile. It's not an adventure. What do you call that?
It's worthwhile.
Endeavor.
Yeah, it's worthwhile if you look at it from the right perspective, I guess, and be fairly clear about what you're hoping to get out of it. And big question: why meat rabbits?
Because rabbit meat is tasty.
This is true. And,
even the kids will agree to that.
Yeah, and up until we actually had them ourselves, I'd never really had rabbits, so it was kind of one of those jumping into it without having ever tried it. But it would be really hard to
get rid of them now.
Yeah, to not have it.
They are a very easy animal. I say easy. With proper setup, they are a very easy animal to raise, and they will provide amazing amounts of protein, which is definite reason that we decided to stick with the bunnies and keep raising them even through our move. There was a lot of back and forth about maybe we should get rid of the bunnies because it was a lot of work.
It was they were more complicated than some of the larger animals to move.
Yeah. Anyways, the decision was they were coming with us, and we were moving all their infrastructure and building more infrastructure. That'll be a video as well, because there's a lot of infrastructure sometimes needed.
We're a little bit odd in that we kind of dove into sort of purebred rabbits right from the get-go, which we raise. There's some discrepancy here, but basically Champagne d'Argent rabbits. But we have also had D'Argent Bruns, which are a different breed, though, I don't know. My opinion is they're just
the same rabbit, just different color.
I probably will get comments on that. But and we have had D'Argent Blues, which are basically the same thing, but instead of black or brown, they're blue.
Yeah.
And that's all we've ever had. And I guess we kind of got them by semi-accident.
You traded turkeys for them.
I traded my turkeys that I had years ago, or I had left the turkeys for them, and that's kind of how it started.
We started with that, wasn't it? Were you a trio, or did you get 3 girls and a boy?
Might have been 3 girls and a boy, actually.
I think it was 3 girls and a boy.
So I guess one thing, or 2 things, I think are really important for us and why we picked Champagne d'Argent in the end was, A, we find them to be a very friendly breed.
They're very docile.
For a relatively large meat rabbit.
And being that we have 2 younger kids, and we had the rabbits right from the get-go when the kids were really, really little, that was something that was very important. We didn't want animals on the farm that you had to worry about the kids.
Just the handling, or I think in the whole time we've had them, we've had, what?
One nasty rabbit.
And she was odd because she only was nasty when she didn't have babies. It was like the reverse of what you would think. But
so she was kept bred.
Yeah, as long as she had babies, she was good. But so that's one big reason. The other reason that we like them, I mean, again, there's probably pros and cons for lots of different breeds, but we find they have a pretty good meat to bone ratio.
Yes.
They've got very small, kind of fine bones, which
basically they're I would say pushing 65%, if not maybe a little higher. We often find butchering at a 5.5 pound size, you're getting a 3.5 pounds of meat, basically, which is really good.
Yeah, so they're deceiving live, but when you get them to that point that you're making them into dinner, you really notice it. They're very hardy. I mean, we don't have a lot of other rabbits to compare them to. They spend
year-round in our hutches behind us.
Yeah, our hutch design is pretty much versatile.
There'll be a video on that.
You can plunk it wherever you want, pretty much any season, as long as they're not sort of in direct sun. But I guess those are some really good pros. A couple of
Cons.
I don't know, cons
Not
or
cons, they're
considerations.
just, well, they're things that, some of it is stuff that we prefer that others would look at as a negative.
Yeah, they're not as prolific as far as litter sizes, so you're not likely to get, too many 12 bunny or higher litters.
I mean, our highest litters are 8, 9 bunnies. We've never seen more than 9 live. We've had a few that have had, 10 and you lose 1 or 2. But for the most part, they range between 5 and 8 litter sizes, which we actually love. That makes it manageable for us. Being that they are a rare breed, we do have to keep a lot of genetics in order to keep them going, which would be a con as well, I suppose.
Well, and that kind of feeds into something that maybe we do a little differently. We have a lot of people, when they have rabbits, they kind of look at it like, and there's nothing wrong with this. I have a couple of does and a buck, and I just produce bunnies, and then I just go get another buck however that system wants to work. We kind of modeled it after what we try to do with poultry and some of the larger livestock, which I guess part of it is trying to be a bit more sustainable, although that comes with some side effects as well. We have, how many do we have?
We try to keep 3 adult bucks of different genetics, and we usually have a 4th one that's up and coming as younger, and we do have 8 breeding does, and all varying genetics. We kind of grew our herd. Is it our herd?
Yeah, our rabbit herd.
We grew our herd quite quickly with grabbing different genetics from a lot of, I'll do the good bloodlines, good breeding, genetics. Right at the get-go when we started, we picked up quite a few of the popular lines. And after 7 years, of course, those lines are nowhere in our pedigrees anymore. We're the Hickory Croft line, but I think...
Well, that's a consideration. I think a lot of people, when they get into rabbits, they don't think about, possibly livestock in general. It's sort of a long-term plan. I mean, you can buy a rabbit for next to nothing and be in meat production in no time, but what's your long-term goal? And I guess that kind of just sums up, that's...
Well, and you do have to have it where you've got the genetics. Well, we feel you've got the genetics to keep it going. It's just it's a quick turnover. We breed, we bump genetics, we move them quickly, which keeps us sustainable, keeps us able to cull heavily, which has improved our size, our coloring. Our bunnies are very uniform now.
And of course, when the original goal is meat rabbits, those what we would call cull animals, there's your meat.
Exactly.
So it's kind of, rather than looking at the rabbits simply as they are, but simply a cheap meat source where you don't put any effort into it. If you put a little bit of time and effort and longer look into it, it can pay off in the long run.
Yeah, having a further out vision than just those few
immediate
litters you're going to have.
I think, like you say, there's definitely a lot of truth to they can produce you a lot of meat in a small space. They're quiet. But there is a few things to consider. It's not all it's not all bed of roses. Yeah. Probably the biggest thing is it takes some thought. Prep
before you dive in.
Yeah, and that's something hopefully as we go through this we can at least give our perspective on some of those aspects.
And just give people some tips and hints on how to, get over that initial
hump and learning curve.
Yeah, the learning curves, because we went through a lot of them, and we've changed cage designs, we've changed feed, we've tried fodder. There's so many things, and all of that will come in our future videos with sharing our experience with our Champagne D'Argents. Yeah, we're looking forward to sharing that with you and sharing all of our tips and how-tos.
Yeah.
I think that's about it, really, for our first intro. What do you think?
That's our intro.
All right, so stay tuned for the next video. Even subscribe, then you'll get it for sure. Bye for now.